This is my Larry Cohen collection. He's one of the more quirky directors I have in my entire DVD collection. His films, he's mostly known as a horror director, but his films range from blaxploitation to science fiction to biopics. And because of that, he's actually one of my most favorite directors of all time. Even though his films have a tendency to be a little more silly, they have deep hidden meanings behind them. And the oldest film I have of Larry Cohen is the blaxploitation film Black Caesar. Excellent blaxploitation film. He actually gets a decent performance out of Fred Williamson. It's one of my favorites of the blaxploitation genre. Then I have Hell Up in Harlem. This is a quickly made sequel to Black Caesar. It's not one of my favorite of the. It was okay. It definitely shows its sequelitis. It kind of was rushed, and it could have been better, but it's very action-packed, and I still really enjoyed it. Then he directed his most well-known film, the monster baby horror film It's Alive. I saw this as a kid. It had some pretty scary sequences. Just about is human nature, are we evolving, and this is the next step in evolution. It's about an everyday couple who have a baby and ends up being a monster and goes on a killing rampage. Really enjoyable, recently remade in a not so very good remake, but a classic horror film of the 70s. After that, he followed up with a horror film with science fiction overtones called God Told Me To. I like the original poster artwork, which is inside the DVD there. This is my favorite Larry Cohen film. It is so smart. People are doing heinous crime, shooting people, sniping people out on from a water tower. Men butchering their families, and they all say the same thing. God told me to. They're hearing this voice in their head, and the twist, I don't want to give it away, the twist at the end of what's doing it is amazing. I love this film so much. I highly recommend that one. Then he followed up with the sequel, It Lives Again. Box titles, It's Alive 2, It Lives Again. Again, suffers from sequelitis. There's 3 mutant babies in this one. He does add a little twist of people trying to save the babies, saying they have God-given rights, but it's for a sequel. It's alright. I can't complain too much about it. Then, actually, in 1980, he directed a film, Q, also known as The Winged Serpent and Q the Winged Serpent. This is a giant monster movie and one of my favorites. An ancient dinosaur, Quetzalcoatl, somehow hatches and survives and lives in the Chrysler building and starts killing people around town. This starts a little more into the even more tongue-in-cheek style of Larry Cohen. Michael Moriarty is fantastic in this film, and this would be the first of many collaborations with Michael Moriarty. This is probably my second favorite Larry Cohen film. Then he followed that up with a couple, in my opinion, passable suspense thrillers. Perfect Strangers and Special Effects. These two star the same guy. I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but he's a horrible actor, and he really annoys the shit out of me, and it really takes out the enjoyment of these films for me. They do have some quirky style of Larry Cohen. It's a little more subdued this time, but overall, I am not a huge fan of these. They're okay, but I like Special Effects better than Perfect Strangers. Perfect Strangers has an assassin out to kill a woman and her child for witnessing a murder, but he can't do it. He ends up falling in love with her. And then Special Effects has a corrupt director who, he's been blacklisted in Hollywood. In order to gain his fame back, he films a real-life murder. Again, very passable. Then we get into the really silly Larry Cohen. excuse the quotation, but silly Larry Cohen stuff. And we have the stuff kind of like a tongue-in-cheek version of the Blob. It's really hilarious, very silly. This white stuff bubbles up from the ground in Alaska, and they start selling it as the next like yogurt and ice cream, and it ends up it's a living organism. It's taking over people's bodies. Very silly, but it's actually extremely smart because it's a poke at consumerism, and that's one of my favorite Larry Cohen films. The editing, though, and the narrative of the film has some problems, but you know, I still enjoy this film immensely. And then he did a few sequels here. Then he returned and directed It's Alive 3, Island of the Alive, by far the silliest and most tongue-in-cheek entry in the series. The mutant babies are now sent to an island where they are given the rights to live, and they start having children of their own, and Michael Moriarty reteams up with Larry Cohen, and he travels to the island with a research team, and the babies end up making it back to mainland. And I enjoy this one. I enjoyed it more than the second film, even though it's really silly and really unintentionally funny. I really enjoyed that one. After that, Larry Cohen, he did a lot of writing. Of course, he wrote the Maniac Cop trilogy and stuff like that. Warner Brothers recently released a Return to Salem's Lot on DVD on their made-on-demand DVD-R releases, and I need to pick that up, but it's really pricey. It's like $25 to $30, and it's for DVD-R, so I keep putting it off, but that's the Larry Cohen film I need to pick up. And I'd also like to see his film, The Ambulance, make it to DVD soon. I enjoyed that film too, but he's definitely one of the more quirky directors I own, and I love him for that. And by far his best films are his horror and his couple blaxploitations. So that is my Larry Cohen collection.